The stars dimmed as thousands of massive ships appeared at the edge of the solar system. Their metal hulls gleamed in the distant sunlight as they moved in perfect formation. This was the Galactic Hegemony Fleet, the most powerful military force known in the explored universe. On the command deck of the flagship stood Admiral Vosteren. His tall, blue-skinned figure towered over his officers as he gazed at the holographic display, showing the small blue planet called Earth. "Such a primitive world," he said to his second-in-command. "They have only traveled to their own moon and Mars. They have no chance against us." The Admiral had conquered 100 worlds before this one. Each time, the pattern was the same: arrive, demand passage rights through their star system, and crush any who refused. No world had successfully stood against the hegemony in 500 years. "Open communication with their leaders," Vosteren ordered. On Earth, alarms blared in every military headquarters. The United Earth Defense Council gathered in their underground chamber beneath Geneva. Representatives from all nations stared at the screens showing the massive alien fleet. "They outnumber our ships 1,000 to 1, said General Williams, his face grim. President Cheng nodded. "But we have no choice. You've all seen the science. If they use their faster-than-light drives through our system, the gravitational damage will destroy Earth within 20 years. The main screen lit up with the image of Admiral Vosteren. His alien features were stern as he spoke in perfect English. "People of Earth, I am Admiral Vosteren of the Galactic Hegemony. Your star system sits at a critical junction of our travel routes. We require immediate passage rights through your system. This is not a request. It is a formality before we begin using the routes. You have 1 day to prepare your official acceptance." President Cheng stood up. She was a small woman, but her voice was strong and clear. "Admiral Vosteren, we have studied your ship technology. Your faster-than-light drives create ripples in space-time that would destabilize our sun. Our system has unique gravitational patterns that your passage would disrupt. We cannot grant your request." The Admiral's expression didn't change. "You misunderstand. This is not a negotiation." "Nevertheless," President Cheng replied, "Earth forbids the Galactic Empire passage through our system. No passage will be granted." Silence filled both chambers. The Admiral's officers looked at each other in shock. No one ever said no to the hegemony. "You have made a grave mistake," Vosteren finally said. "I will send my diplomat, Ambassador Kelmora, to explain the consequences of your defiance. You have 1 week to reconsider before we take what we need by force." The screen went dark. In the Earth Defense Council room, General Williams turned to President Cheng. "We should evacuate as many people as possible to the underground shelters." "No," she replied. "Prepare protocol Thermopylae instead." The general's eyes widened. "That's only theoretical technology. We haven't tested most of it." "Now we will," President Cheng said. "Humanity won't bow to threats, no matter how powerful our enemy. Send the order to all defense stations. Earth stands firm." Aboard his ship, Admiral Vosteren watched Earth's small defensive satellites and primitive space stations. He should have felt confident, but something bothered him. The humans had refused too easily, too calmly. They should have been terrified. "Begin detailed scans of their system," he ordered. "I want to know what they're hiding." 3 days after Admiral Vosteren's threat, a single hegemony ship approached Earth's orbital station. Inside the station's main conference room, the Earth Defense Council waited nervously. The doors slid open. Ambassador Kelmora walked in with 4 tall, armored guards. She was different from Vosteren. Her skin was pale green and her eyes were large and golden. She moved with grace, but her expression was cold. "I am Ambassador Kelmora," she announced. "I have come to make sure you understand what happens to those who defy the hegemony." President Cheng gestured to an empty chair. "Please, Ambassador, we are willing to listen." Kelmora sat down but kept her back straight. "In the last century, 17 worlds refused our demands. 15 no longer exist. The other two surrendered after we destroyed their major cities. She activated a small device on her wrist. Holographic images appeared above the table, planets burning, cities in ruins. The council members watched in silence. "This is not a threat," Kelmora continued. "It is simply what will happen if you continue to refuse us. The Admiral has 3,000 warships. You have 12 primitive defense vessels. Mathematics makes the outcome clear." Dr. Aisha Rahman, Earth's lead scientist, stepped forward. "Ambassador, please look at our research." She displayed charts and complex equations on the room's screens. "Your faster-than-light drives create ripples in spacetime. Most star systems can handle these disruptions, but our system has unique gravitational patterns." Dr. Rahman pointed to a simulation showing Earth's orbit destabilizing, the moon drifting away, and massive tsunamis covering continents. "If your ships use our system as a regular passage, Earth will become uninhabitable within 20 years and be completely destroyed within 50. We aren't refusing out of stubbornness. We're refusing to prevent our extinction." Kelmora studied the data. For a moment, something like concern flickered across her face. Then her expression hardened again. "The hegemony's expansion cannot be delayed for one primitive world. Find another solution. Perhaps your people could relocate to your Mars colony." "Mars can't support all 10 billion of us," General Williams said angrily. "And it's our home. We won't abandon it." "Then you will die defending it," Kelmora replied. "Is there nothing else to discuss?" President Chang leaned forward. "We've charted alternative routes through nearby systems. They would add only 3 weeks to your journey times." "Unacceptable." Kelmora stood up. "The hegemony does not change its plans for lesser species. You have 4 more days to accept our terms. After that, the Admiral will begin removing your defenses, and anyone who stands with them." After the ambassador left, General Williams slammed his fist on the table. "We should strike first. Use the thermopyla weapons while they aren't expecting it." "No," President Cheng said calmly. "We continue preparing, but we don't fire first." "Commander Chen, what's the status of our defenses?" A woman in a military uniform stepped from the shadows. Commander Jana Chen had been silent throughout the meeting, watching Kelmora carefully. "The lunar cannons will be ready in 48 hours. The nanobots are deployed. Mars has sent their fighters. We're as ready as we'll ever be." Back on her ship, Ambassador Kelmora reviewed the meeting. Something troubled her. The humans showed fear, yes, but not the panic she expected. They acted like people with a plan, not a species facing extinction. "Run a deeper scan of their defenses," she ordered her crew. "The humans are hiding something. I need to know what it is before the Admiral loses his patience." As the deadline approached, Commander Jana Chen walked through the underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains. All around her, workers assembled strange devices that looked nothing like traditional weapons. "Status report," she demanded, her voice echoing in the vast chamber. Dr. Rahman looked up from her workstation. "The nanobots are fully deployed throughout the system. They're currently dormant, but once activated, they'll target the special metal alloys used in hegemony ships." Commander Chen nodded. "And the electromagnetic pulse generators. All 26 satellites are in position, disguised as communication relays. The hegemony scanners haven't detected their true purpose." In another section of the facility, engineers worked on modified civilian ships. They didn't look impressive, just ordinary transport vessels, but each had been equipped with experimental technology that could adapt quickly to different threats. Meanwhile, on the lunar surface, massive rail guns were hidden beneath the dust. On Mars, elite pilots practiced high-speed maneuvers in the thin atmosphere. Throughout Earth's system, ordinary citizens converted factories to produce specialized equipment. What amazed the hegemony observers watching from orbit was the lack of panic. There were no riots, no mass evacuations. Humans went about their lives with determined focus. Some even joked about the alien problem on their social networks. On the hegemony flagship, Admiral Vos Terran studied the reports with growing unease. Their behavior doesn't match any conquest pattern I've seen before, he told his officers. They're too calm. They must have some kind of plan. His science officer approached hesitantly. Sir, we're detecting unusual energy signatures throughout their system. Many small objects are in orbit around their planets and moons, but we can't determine their purpose. Weapons. They don't match any weapon profiles in our database. They appear to be simple satellites, but their power levels fluctuate strangely. Vos Terran frowned. Ambassador Kel Mora, what was your impression of these humans? The ambassador chose her words carefully. They are primitive, but resourceful. Their scientists genuinely believe our passage would destroy their world. And they don't fear death the way most species do. Everyone fears death, the admiral snapped. These humans fear failure more, Kelmore replied. Their history is full of small groups defeating larger forces through creative tactics. In Earth's defense headquarters, President Chang met with her top advisors. The room was tense but focused. 24 hours until their deadline, General Williams said. All defensive systems are ready. Commander Chen displayed a holographic map of the solar system. We expect their first attack to target our orbital platforms. They'll use automated destroyers to test our defenses before committing their main fleet. And we'll let them, President Cheng said calmly. General Williams looked shocked. Let them destroy our first line of defense. Those platforms are decoys, Commander Chen explained. The real defenses are hidden. When they attack the platforms, they'll fly right through our nanobot clouds. Dr. Raman added, the beauty of our plan is they won't see it coming. The hegemony relies on overwhelming force. They'd forgotten how to face an enemy who thinks differently. President Cheng looked at each person in the room. Humanity has always been at its best when faced with impossible odds. Tomorrow, we show the galaxy what that means. Above Earth, Admiral Vos Terran gave the final order. Prepare the automated destroyers. At deadline, we strike. The deadline passed. Admiral Vos Terran stood on his command deck, watching as 500 automated destroyers launched toward Earth. These unmanned ships would clear the way for his main fleet by destroying Earth's defensive platforms. The humans haven't responded to our final warning, he said. They've chosen their fate. On Earth, in the Mountain Command Center, Commander Chen and President Cheng watched the approaching destroyers on their screens. They've launched exactly as we predicted, Chen said. 500 destroyers heading for our orbital platforms. President Cheng nodded. Activate Protocol Thermopylae. Phase 1. Throughout the solar system, small satellites that had appeared dormant suddenly came to life. They didn't fire weapons or move into defensive positions. They simply released clouds of tiny particles, billions of nanobots too small for hegemony scanners to detect as threats. On the hegemony flagship, a junior officer reported, Admiral, the humans are deploying some kind of cloud around their defensive platforms. Analysis says they're just basic satellites, possibly an attempt to create a visual screen. The Admiral frowned. A primitive tactic. Proceed as planned. The automated destroyers entered the clouds. Nothing happened at first. They continued toward Earth's orbital platforms, weapons charging. Then the first destroyer stopped suddenly. Then another, and another. On Earth's command screens, Dr. Raman pointed to the readings. The nanobots are working. They're attaching to the special metal alloys in the hegemony ships and reconfiguring their molecular structure. Within minutes, hundreds of destroyers began drifting off course. Their engines sputtered and died. Weapon systems went offline. Communication arrays failed. In the hegemony flagship, chaos erupted. Sir, we've lost contact with 60% of the destroyers. An officer shouted. How is this possible? The Admiral demanded. Scan those clouds again. The science officer's voice shook. Sir, the clouds contain some kind of self-replicating technology. They're attacking the iridium alloy in our ship hulls. They're eating our ships. Admiral Vos Terran's face darkened with rage. Impossible. That technology is beyond their capabilities. Ambassador Kel Mora stepped forward. I warned you, Admiral. These humans are resourceful. They don't think like other species we've conquered. On Earth, cheers erupted in the command center as they watched the hegemony's first wave become disabled, one ship after another. No weapons had been fired. Not a single life had been lost. 326 destroyers neutralized. Commander Chen reported. The rest are retreating. President Cheng's expression remained serious. This is only the beginning. Prepare Phase 2. The Admiral won't make the same mistake twice. Back on the Hegemony flagship, Admiral Vos Terran slammed his fist on a console. In 500 years, no one has dared to challenge us this way, he growled. These humans will pay for their insolence. His second-in-command asked nervously, What are your orders, Admiral? Vos Terran's eyes narrowed. Prepare the main battle fleet. No more automated ships. We will crush their defenses ourselves. As officers rushed to obey, Ambassador Kel Mora watched the Admiral carefully. For the first time in his career, Vos Terran faced an enemy that had outmaneuvered him, and for the first time, she wondered if the hegemony might have underestimated humanity. The real war, she whispered to herself, has only just begun. Admiral Vos Terran launched his main battle fleet toward Earth, 1,000 warships with experienced crews. This time, his ships avoided the Nunavut clouds, taking longer routes through the system. The humans have one clever trick, he told his officers, but they cannot stand against our full might. Commander Chen watched the approaching fleet from her own ship, hidden behind Earth's moon along with 50 vessels of various sizes. None of them looked impressive, but each carried experimental technology designed for this moment. They're avoiding our nanobot fields, she reported to President Cheng via secure channel. Time to activate Phase 2. On Earth and in orbital stations, massive fusion reactors began powering up. Hegemony sensors detected the energy spike. The humans are bringing their defense systems online, reported a hegemony officer. Their orbital platforms are charging weapons. The Admiral smiled. Exactly as expected. Target those platforms and fire when ready. The hegemony ships moved into attack formation, their powerful weapons locked on Earth's visible defenses. Just as they prepared to fire, Commander Chen gave the order. Initiate synchronized pulse. Now. Earth's fusion reactors overloaded in perfect coordination. Instead of exploding, they released precisely calculated electromagnetic pulses that swept across space. On the hegemony ships, targeting systems suddenly went dark. Communication arrays failed. Officers shouted in confusion as their advanced technology became useless. What's happening? The Admiral demanded. Electromagnetic pulse, sir, his science officer shouted. They disabled our targeting and communications. Before the Admiral could respond, Commander Chen's voice came through on all hegemony channels. Admiral Vos Terran, this is Commander Jana Chen of Earth Defense. Your targeting systems are temporarily disabled. We could destroy your ships now, but we choose not to. We only want to protect our home. Leave our system in peace. The Admiral growled in anger. Restore our systems, and find out where that transmission came from. Behind the moon, Commander Chen gave her next order. Launch strike teams. Target their command ships only. From the dark side of the moon, Earth's hidden fleet emerged. The ships were smaller than the hegemony's massive warships, but they moved with surprising speed and agility. Their unusual designs featured rotating sections that could quickly reconfigure for different tactical situations. Led by Commander Chen's flagship, they executed quick strikes against the hegemony's command vessels. They fired precisely targeted weapons that disabled engines and weapons systems without destroying the ships completely. In the confusion, many hegemony vessels fired at shadows, some accidentally hitting their own ships. On his flagship, Admiral Vos Terran watched in disbelief as the supposedly primitive humans executed complex battle maneuvers that his own fleet struggled to counter. This is impossible, he whispered. How can they fight like this? Ambassador Kelmora, who had remained silent until now, spoke quietly. Because they're fighting for survival, Admiral, not for conquest. After 2 hours of battle, the hegemony fleet retreated to a safe distance. The Admiral had lost 30 command ships and 200 others were damaged. Earth had lost only 7 vessels. For the first time in his long career, Admiral Vos Terran had not achieved victory. The battle had ended in a stalemate, something the hegemony had never experienced before. Send a message to Central Command, he ordered grimly. Request reinforcements. And tell them we face an enemy unlike any we have encountered before. While the hegemony fleet repaired their damaged ships and waited for reinforcements, Ambassador Kelmora requested permission to meet with the Earth Council again. The humans won't surrender, she told the Admiral. But perhaps I can gather intelligence on their next moves. Admiral Vos Terran nodded grimly. Go. Find out how they developed these technologies so quickly. There must be a weakness we can exploit. The ambassador's shuttle docked at Earth's orbital station. The same meeting room awaited her, but the mood had changed. The Earth representatives now looked confident rather than worried. Ambassador, President Cheng greeted her. Have you come to discuss peace terms? Kelmora kept her face neutral. The Admiral wishes to understand your position better. Your resistance is unexpected. As they talked, emergency alarms suddenly blared through the station. A voice announced, "Pressure breach in Section 14. Emergency teams respond immediately." President Cheng stood quickly. "Ambassador, please stay here. You'll be safe." But Kelmora followed the humans as they rushed toward the emergency. A small meteorite had pierced the station's outer hull. Air was escaping, and several people, including 2 members of her own hegemony staff, were trapped in the section. What happened next changed Kelmora's understanding of humans forever. Earth's rescue teams arrived and immediately began sealing the breach. But instead of focusing only on their own people, the human rescuers risked their lives to save the hegemony staff first. One human engineer was nearly pulled into space as she held onto a hegemony officer, refusing to let go even as her own oxygen supply ran low. When everyone was safe, Kelmora approached the engineer. "Why did you risk your life for our people? We are your enemies." The engineer looked surprised. They were in danger. It doesn't matter where they're from. Later, as the ambassador prepared to return to the hegemony fleet, Dr. Raman approached her with a data tablet. "Before you leave, you should see this," the scientist said quietly. "We've been studying your faster-than-light drive technology. Look at these readings from star systems where your ships regularly travel." Kelmora examined the data. The charts showed subtle damage to space-time fabric in dozens of star systems, places where hegemony ships had passed through for centuries. "Most systems can repair this damage naturally," Dr. Raman explained. "But our system's unique position would make it catastrophic here. And that's not all. The damage accumulates over time. If it continues, it could trigger a chain reaction affecting hundreds of inhabited worlds beyond our system." Kelmora felt cold suddenly. "Are you certain of this?" "Completely. Your own scientists must have data showing the same patterns. Perhaps they never connected it to your drives, or perhaps they reported it and were ignored." Kelmora finished, thinking of the hegemony's ruthless focus on expansion. As her shuttle returned to the flagship, Ambassador Kelmora stared at the copy of Dr. Raman's data she had secretly brought with her. If the humans were right, the hegemony wasn't just threatening Earth. It was endangering the entire galaxy, including their own worlds. For the first time in her diplomatic career, Kelmora wondered if she was serving on the wrong side. While Admiral Vos Terran prepared for another attack, Earth launched a different kind of assault. Dr. Raman and her team worked through the night, compiling all their data about the dangers of the hegemony's faster-than-light drives. "We're ready," she told President Cheng the next morning. "The transmission package is complete." President Cheng nodded. "Send it to every world in communication range." Include our offer for the safe transit technology. Earth's powerful communication arrays activated, sending data packets to hundreds of worlds, including hegemony colonies. The message was simple. The current FTL drive technology was causing damage to spacetime that could eventually affect many inhabited worlds. Earth offered to share their research on safe transit methods if the hegemony would recognize Earth's independence. On the hegemony flagship, alarms sounded as communication officers detected the massive transmission. The humans are broadcasting some kind of message to our colony worlds, an officer reported. Admiral Vos Terran slammed his fist on his chair. Block it. Now. We can't, sir. They're using frequencies we don't control. The Admiral turned to Ambassador Kel Mora. What game are these humans playing? Kel Mora kept her face neutral, though internally she was impressed by Earth's bold move. They're attempting to turn our own worlds against us. A clever diplomatic strategy. It's propaganda, the Admiral growled. No one will believe them. But reports soon came in from hegemony worlds. Questions were being asked. Some colonies were demanding that their leadership verify Earth's claims about the FTL drive dangers. In her private quarters, Ambassador Kel Mora received a secret visitor, Commander Chen, who had somehow managed to board the flagship undetected. You've seen the data, Chen said. You know we're telling the truth. Kel Mora studied the human carefully. What do you want from me? Help us prevent a war that will harm both our peoples. Chen handed her a small device. These are access codes to broadcast directly to the hegemony's ruling council. If Admiral Vos Terran won't listen, perhaps they will. After Commander Chen left, Kel Mora stood for a long time looking at the device. Throughout her career, she had served the hegemony faithfully. But if Earth's data was correct, and her own investigation suggested it was, then the hegemony's policies threatened not just Earth but countless worlds, including her own homeworld. On Earth, President Cheng met with her council. The diplomatic offensive is working better than expected. Several hegemony worlds have already reached out to us directly. General Williams looked skeptical. The Admiral won't care. He'll attack as soon as his reinforcements arrive. Perhaps, President Cheng replied, but now he'll face pressure from his own people. We don't need to defeat their entire empire. We just need to make enough of them question their leaders. Commander Chen, who had returned safely, smiled. And I believe we found an ally inside the hegemony itself. As predicted, Admiral Vos Terran received angry messages from Hegemony Command. Some demanded immediate action against Earth. Others ordered him to investigate the humans' claims. The unified hegemony voice was fracturing for the first time in centuries. Prepare all ships, he ordered. We strike in 6 hours, before these human lies spread further. But even as he gave the order, he noticed something disturbing. Some of his officers exchanged uncertain glances. The seeds of doubt had been planted. The hegemony reinforcements arrived. 500 more warships joining Admiral Vos Terran's fleet. But they brought something else with them. Political officers sent by the Hegemony Council. Commander Zexbull, the lead political officer, met with Admiral Vos Terran immediately. His cold eyes studied the Admiral as they spoke. The Council is concerned about your failure to subdue these humans, Zexbull said. And now their message spreads through our colonies, causing unrest. We were unprepared for their technology, Vos Terran replied. But with these reinforcements, some on the Council believe you have been too soft, Zexbull interrupted. I am here to ensure the complete destruction of Earth's defenses and government, the older worlds demanded, and the frontier worlds. Their opinions do not matter. They lack proper discipline. Zexbull handed the Admiral a data tablet. These are your new orders. You will destroy Earth's major cities as an example to others. After the political officer left, Admiral Vos Terran studied the orders. Throughout his career, he had conquered worlds efficiently, but never unnecessarily destroyed civilian populations. These orders crossed a line he had never imagined the hegemony would cross. When Ambassador Kel Mora entered his office, he showed her the tablet. The Council fears Earth's message. she said quietly. They want to silence it permanently. These orders would kill billions of civilians, Vos-Terran replied, to prevent questions about our FTL technology. They looked at each other, understanding passing between them. The hegemony they had served faithfully was not what they had believed it to be. That night, a small shuttle secretly left the flagship. Inside, Admiral Vos-Terran met Commander Chen at a neutral location, a small asteroid at the edge of the system. I received your message, Chen said. Why would the Admiral of the Hegemony Fleet want to speak with me? Vos-Terran's face was grim. Because I believe your scientists are correct about our FTL drives, and because my superiors have ordered me to destroy your cities, not just your defenses. Chen's expression didn't change. And will you follow those orders? I have conquered many worlds, Commander Chen, but I have never massacred civilians. He paused. The hegemony I joined was about bringing order to chaos, not causing needless destruction. What are you proposing? An agreement. My officers loyal to me will prevent the political officers from carrying out the destruction orders. Your forces will allow us time to verify your scientific claims and present them to worlds that will listen. Chen considered him carefully. How do I know this isn't a trap? Because I'm giving you this. He handed her a data device. The command codes for our fleet's defense systems. Consider it a gesture of good faith. Back on Earth, President Cheng listened to Commander Chen's report of the secret meeting. Can we trust him? General Williams asked skeptically. I believe we can, Chen replied. He's a conqueror, but not a murderer. And if he helps us convince other hegemony worlds about the FTL drive dangers, we might avoid further bloodshed. President Cheng nodded slowly. So our greatest enemy may become our most important ally. Prepare a secure channel for the Admiral. It's time we spoke directly. The Hegemony Central Fleet arrived, a massive force of 1,000 elite warships led by Grand Marshal Zex Kalter himself. His ship dwarfed even Admiral Vos-Terran's flagship. The Grand Marshal summoned Admiral Vos-Terran to his command chamber immediately, towering over the Admiral. Zex Kalter's voice was cold with fury. You are relieved of command, Admiral. The Council finds your performance disappointing. Grand Marshal Vos-Terran replied calmly, I recommend caution. These humans should have been crushed within hours, Zex Kalter interrupted. Your failure will be noted in the historical records, if you are remembered at all. Guards escorted Vos-Terran back to his ship and placed him under house arrest. Through secret channels, he sent a message to Ambassador Kelmora, who had remained on Earth for continued negotiations. The message was simple, the hammer falls. Be ready. On Earth, President Cheng received reports of the new Hegemony Fleet. Their weapons? She asked. Planet killers. Commander Chen answered grimly. The Grand Marshal has deployed weapons designed to crack planetary crusts. General Williams looked pale. Can our defenses stop them? No, Chen admitted. Not directly. But we have one last strategy. She turned to Dr. Raman. Is the gravitational manipulation system ready? The scientist nodded. Theoretical tests are positive, but we've never deployed it on this scale. We have no choice, President Cheng said. Activate final protocol. Throughout the system, Earth's remaining ships and stations powered up unusual devices that had remained hidden until now. In orbit, Grand Marshal Zex Kalter broadcast his message to Earth. Your resistance ends today. Earth will serve as an example to any who defy the hegemony. Surrender now or be destroyed. President Cheng's response was brief. We will never surrender our home. So be it, the Grand Marshal replied. All ships, commence firing sequence. The massive Hegemony Fleet moved into formation. Weapon systems charged, targeting Earth's major cities. The Grand Marshal watched with satisfaction as his display showed all systems ready. Fire, he commanded. But as the order was given, something strange happened. The space around the Hegemony ships seemed to bend and distort. Targeting systems showed Earth's position shifting. though the planet hadn't moved. "What is happening?" Zex Coulter demanded. His science officer looked confused. "They're manipulating gravity itself, creating localized distortions that are bending our weapon trajectories." The hegemony weapons fired, but most missed their targets completely. Some beams curved back into space. Others struck hegemony ships instead of Earth. In the confusion, Admiral Vos Terran's loyal officers overpowered his guards. The Admiral took control of his ship's communication system and broadcast to the fleet. "All captains who have seen the evidence of the FTL drive dangers, all who believe in protecting innocent lives rather than destroying them, stand with me now against this senseless destruction." To the Grand Marshal's shock, hundreds of ship captains acknowledged Vos Terran's call. Ships began changing formation, turning their weapons away from Earth and toward the Grand Marshal's forces instead. "This is treason," Zex Coulter shouted. "No," Vos Terran replied, his voice heard throughout the fleet. "This is conscience." The hegemony was meant to bring order, not extinction. The battle that followed wasn't Earth against the hegemony, but reformers against hardliners. Earth's forces supported Vos Terran's ships with their gravitational technology, creating shields around Allied vessels and confusion around enemy ones. From her position on Earth, Ambassador Kel Mora watched the battle unfold. "And so," she whispered, "an empire begins to change." The battle lasted for 12 hours. When it ended, Grand Marshal Zex Coulter's flagship drifted powerless, surrounded by ships loyal to Admiral Vos Terran. The Grand Marshal himself was taken into custody by his own officers. 3 days later, representatives from Earth and the hegemony met on the neutral ground of the lunar colony. Admiral Vos Terran, now speaking for the reformed hegemony forces, faced President Cheng across the conference table. "The hardliners in the Hegemony Council have been removed from power," he announced. The evidence about the FTL drive damage was impossible to ignore once presented properly. President Cheng nodded. "And what happens now, Admiral?" "I propose a restructuring of the hegemony. No longer an empire that conquers, but a true federation where member worlds have a voice and autonomy." He looked at the humans gathered around the table. "And I suggest Earth should play a central role in this new organization." Commander Chen looked suspicious. "Why would you give us such power?" Ambassador Kel Mora, who sat beside the Admiral, answered. "Because you fought not just for yourselves, but for the safety of all worlds. You could have simply blocked our passage and left other systems to suffer the consequences of our damaged space-time fabric. Instead, you risked everything to warn everyone." Dr. Raman spread out diagrams showing modified FTL drive designs. With these modifications, ships can travel through all systems without causing damage to space-time. The technology is complex, but can be implemented throughout the galaxy within 5 years. The negotiations continued for weeks. Eventually, a historic agreement was signed. The hegemony would become the Galactic Federation, with Earth as the headquarters for a new Galactic Congress, where representatives from all worlds would meet as equals. 1 year later, the new Congress building was completed in orbit around Earth. Ships from 1,000 worlds gathered for the opening ceremony. On the Grand Observation Deck, Commander Chen stood beside Admiral Vos Terran, both now generals in the new Federation Defense Force. "Did you ever imagine this outcome when your fleet first arrived in our system?" Chen asked. Vos Terran shook his head. "Never. I expected another simple conquest. Instead, I found a worthy ally and a better path forward." Ambassador Kel Mora, now elected as the first leader of the Galactic Congress, called for silence as the ceremony began. "Today marks not just the official beginning of our federation, but also the completion of the galaxy-wide drive modification project," she announced. "Thanks to Earth's scientists and engineers working alongside experts from all member worlds, our ships can now travel safely through any system without causing harm." President Cheng stepped forward to cut the ceremonial ribbon. 1 year ago, Earth stood alone against what seemed like an invincible empire. We said no passage will be granted, not out of stubbornness, but because we understood the consequences. Today, we say all passages are open because together we found a better way. As cheers filled the hall, Admiral Vos Terran leaned closer to Commander Chen. You know, the old hegemony records will say Earth was never conquered. Chen smiled. And the Earth records will say the hegemony was defeated. But the truth is more complex, isn't it? The truth, Vos Terran replied, is that we both won by finding common ground. Perhaps that's the most important lesson for the future. As the celebration continued, ships from across the galaxy formed a ceremonial parade through the Sol system, their modified drives leaving no damage in their wake, only the glittering lights of a new era of cooperation among the stars.